Ellen McCauley at Pray It Off in Syracuse, New York. And the talk part is a little longer than normal because we usually have awards and we have the Bible reading, but you are going to have your group prayer time. But the next thing I want to talk about is trusting God. And, you know, I talk the talk, but I don't always walk the walk. Because I sometimes think, and this is where I'm changing. I can feel myself changing. I think, I trust God, but what if something bad happens? You know, what if this? I realize, finally, that bad things do not come from God. It has nothing to do with God. God is love. Bad things happen because we're in a fallen world. And that Jesus, right now, is right here with me. He's with all of you. He's with every single person in this room and every single person on the planet. Whoever was and whoever is, whoever will be. He's with us right now. And no matter what we go through, we can trust that. I'm not going to have you raise your hand, but I firmly believe that everyone in this room thinks that God is right with us now. He's with us. And we can trust that. We can't trust the world. We can't trust what might happen in this world, but we can trust that God will help us no matter what. And you know what's so funny? It says, all of our money says on it, in God we trust. And I said to myself when I read that, I wonder for how long it's going to stay that. You know, I hope it continues to say that for all the rest of my life at least. It is one thing to say we trust God, and then it is another thing to actually trust Him. And how can we do that? And you know, he tells this story, this author here, about this guy who fell off a cliff and he's hanging onto a branch and he's saying, yelling out, help me, somebody help me, help me, help me. And finally God says, I'm here, I'll help you. And the guy goes, okay, help me. And God says, well, first let go of the branch. And the guy says, help me, can somebody help me? We don't always trust God. When God tells us to let go of something, especially food, because food's our buddy, our pal, our go-to. And he wants to say, Ellen, not so much on the Michelob Ultras. Why don't you and I talk? Why don't I help see you through this challenge or this difficulty? And the way I talk about it, the new people are going to say, I didn't know she was an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. As a matter of fact, I don't drink from January till June because of the calories. Otherwise, you know, who knows what I might do. But the thing is, we need to be confident in God's care. We need to say, you know what? Life is tough, and God is with me, and none of us are going to get out of here. We're all going to go one of these days. And our goal is to live the best life we can until He calls us home. And I want to take care of my body. I had a couple health scares in 2021, and people know I had the biopsies that turned out fine. But when you have those health scares, you think, wow, this is my body. I better take care of it. I'm 67. I want to be like Betty White, you know, not wanting to go at 99. You know, how many people are like, oh no, not Betty White. I mean, what kind of a life how wonderful are you that people think you die too young at 99? You know? I want to be in that kind of shape and do that. When you put your trust in God, you put all your weight on Him. Literally and figuratively. And some people used to say to me, God doesn't care about my weight. He does. He cares about everything we care about. Remember I told you that before about me getting my pantyhose on? I told you He cares about all those things. He has never forsaken us, and He won't. Am I going to trust God, or am I going to lean on my own understanding? And then think of the stories in the Bible, the David, the Goliaths, all the stories where people just trusted in God and He came through. Okay, I'm trying to turn the page without looking at my hardest thing in life. All right. And then we have to see God in everything. Weight is not a little thing. Weight is a big thing that God cares about. We are controlled, when we surrender to Him, by His will. If we bring it to Him, and then He will in His own time, not ours, direct us. And you might say, well, you know, Ellen, you started this group in 2008. Shouldn't you be Gina, Lola, Bridget out about now? The thing is, it's a journey. Life is a journey. It's a weight loss journey. And we are going to have hills and valleys. And we are in this together. And then it says, ever see those bumper stickers that says, God is my co-pilot? I used to say that all the time. But God doesn't want to be our co-pilot. He wants to be our pilot. And that's what we need to think about. And you know, we can see God in the Bible. We can see God in other people. And God will open the door when we least expect it and show us something. We need to just be open to looking for that. And then he talked about, he's a military guy, and he talked about landing a plane on those aircraft carriers. And when they had that little like metal thing that you had to hook a string on, and there was a guy called an LSO waving you on, all your trust had to be in that LSO going, come on, over here, over here. And if you missed it, a lot of pilots died crashing into the ship, and it was one of the most dangerous jobs. And they said they did tests, and pilots' heart rate were higher during landing on the aircraft carrier than they were in combat, just because of how nerve-wracking it is. So it says here at the end, each day when you take off on the USS God, you will fly through some battles and some storms. But when you keep your eyes on God, your LSO, your landing safety officer, he will guide you safely home. And then the last thing we need is to trust our bodies and trust ourselves. You know, I never had an eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia, but I did have an eating disorder where I had an unnatural relationship with food. Food was my go-to in a crisis. I was in the Clean Plate Club, and we're going to talk about that someday, about always feeling you have to clean your plate, clean your plate, clean your plate, even when you're full. I felt that I was always going to be fat because I was a child fat growing up. We need to come to terms that our body is the only one we have and not treat it negatively. During the pandemic, I called myself Two-Ton Tony, and Bob would get very mad at me. He said, Ellen, please don't call yourself that. So then I started calling myself TTT, and he goes, I know what that means. I know it means Two-Ton Tony, so stop saying it. And you know, I really shouldn't make fun of myself. And yesterday I had a shirt on and a blazer, and then I had this like muffin top thing over my pants, and I could see it everywhere I went, like the reflection in the window. I'll go, oh, look at that, really bad. That's what you call them, right? A muffin top? Yes. I'm using the right phrase, right? My pants were too tight because I tried to get into a lower pair, and I had everything up here was hanging down there. So every time I saw someone, I would take my blazer and I would grab it around me. I'd grab it around me to hide what I thought everyone was looking at, which no one was but me. I don't want to be worried about a muffin top. That's one of my 2027 goals. I want to respect my body, respect what I'm doing in my body, listen to it, replace the negative with a positive, because even though I'm talking about how fat I am, I don't weigh anywhere near 371. I've lost like 130 pounds and kept it off. It's just the rest I want to get off. We need to visualize ourselves following through. We need to visualize ourselves. One time in one of the sessions, there was a guy, Joe Capriotti. God rest his soul. I love that guy. Loved him, loved him, loved him. So I gave everyone an assignment to come up like with some kind of a photo, maybe when you were younger, or something that you want to look like, that you visualize yourself being successful. Well, he came in the next week, and he had this bodybuilder, and he had cut out a picture of his face and glued it on. It was just the funniest thing, you know. And I said, Joe, that's perfect, you know. But whatever it takes, but be realistic. Like, don't take, you know, Cheryl Tiegs in 1970 and put your picture on top of her, unless you really think that's your goal. The thing I always say is healthy. Healthy, healthy, healthy. That's the most important thing. And we need to visualize ourselves saying no to food. Oh, thank you. Geez, I'm really full now, but thank you for offering me that. Or I really want it. I'm going to have it later. Make up dialogue that you will say. And then decide what you're going to do during emotional times. That's a big problem for me. Anyone else emotional eaters? Oh, yeah, we all are. And you know, we need to know that it doesn't make it better. It doesn't. I always think it will. Has it ever? Has any time eating a whole pizza, which I could never do anyway, but you think it's going to make it better, and it doesn't. We need to trust Jesus, and I want you to prayerfully listen to this song right now.